Hi, I'm Tom Lydon, editor of ETF Trends here in Chicago at the Morningstar Conference, and I'm here with Ben Johnson, director of Global ETF Research at Morningstar. Great seeing you, Ben.
Glad to be here, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, and congratulations again on a great conference. What's been new and exciting that you folks are talking about here at the conference?
Well, I think this is the first year we've changed the agenda a bit to recognize the fact that the advisors are looking at their jobs, they're looking at the challenges that they're facing, that their clients are facing, increasingly from a more and more holistic point of view. So it's less about picking stocks, picking managers, less about picking winning funds, more about portfolio construction, more about a more comprehensive, holistic view of constructing solid financial plans, and scanning the marketplace to understand what are the latest and greatest in terms of tools and developments that can help them to make their practices more efficient, to bring all of this to bear, to drive good client outcomes. So the focus has moved away from markets to a certain extent, and certainly away from individual security selection, and towards taking a more sort of big picture view of the challenges facing advisors, facing their clients.
Well, I know you've had an announcement of some new tools that you've made available for advisors. Saw them, they're really, really cool. Morningstar also does their own indexing. So you, in fact, partner with other ETF issuers on bringing ETFs to market, which is kind of really neat and innovative. And on top of that, all the great research you do, not only ETF industry, but on ETF strategists as well. I mean, it's really, the ETF market is huge. Can it get that much bigger, and are there any concerns that you have?
Well, it's getting bigger by the day, and advisors, investors are faced with a huge amount of choice. So the reform broker, you know him well, downtown Josh Brown was here yesterday. He said, if anything, now is a terrible time to be an investor because there's too much to choose from. He said we've got 85 different kinds of mustard, which I thought was such an apt analogy to use because it's difficult to choose. You've got all of these different types of strategies, all of which from like face value look to be very similar, that produce very different outcomes. It creates a real challenge for advisors when it comes to fund selection.
Yeah.
Which ones are going to work? Which ones make sense in the context of a broader portfolio construction? And at the end of the day, I wonder sometimes, does it even matter? Have things gotten so sort of, numerous, right?
Yeah.
So complicated that we're really not doing anyone any good, that we've massively violated the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And more often than not, that's the exact right thing to do, is to keep it as simple as possible, to keep it as cheap as possible. And that, more so than anything else, I think ultimately has the best odds of driving good outcomes for investors.
Fortunately, I think most advisors have kept it simple. We've got 1.8 trillion of the 2.8 trillion in the top 100 ETFs for all the right reasons. But we've had a bull market in stocks, we've had a bull market in bonds. There's this plethora of smart beta or strategic beta strategies that are on board. Many people are trying to find out, where's the there. But when we start to see more volatility, maybe choice is a good thing. Maybe non-correlated assets that aren't getting the love in the last 5 or 7 years might start to do so. What do you think?
Could very well happen,
Yeah.
but we don't need volatility to understand how investors are making decisions and the decisions that they're making. So if you look at average holding periods for certain ETFs, if you look at the difference between the time-weighted returns and the cash flow-weighted returns with some of these single factor ETFs, what we see is that investors have this big menu of brand new shiny toys, and they're making the same exact mistakes that they made with their old toys for years and years and years. They're chasing performance, they're buying high, they're selling low, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Again, massive violations of the KISS principle, massive violations of the principle that really the best activity more often than not is inactivity, to just do absolutely nothing. So we've got a great menu, they're low cost, they're efficient, they can provide or bring to bear strategies that might provide you a smoother ride should markets turn south, but that is incumbent upon you, if you're going to get into that ride, to buckle up and to sit tight and not to bail at the first sign of distress.
Absolutely. Hey, before we go, you have the Morningstar ETF conference coming up, and when is that?
So the Morningstar ETF conference this year will be from September 6th through 8th here in Chicago.
Great. And if you want to go, just go online to Morningstar. You can find it, and you and I will be there.
Google the Morningstar ETF conference, and hopefully the first thing that doesn't show up is a picture of your and my ugly mugs, and actually something helpful, a link to register.
I know, I would pity the people who saw that.
Right.
Great seeing you, Ben.
Good seeing you too, Tom. Thanks.